Hey, welcome to the United We Scan podcast. Just a quick disclaimer here that any of the views and opinions expressed by the individuals are not that of the USPS or the NRLCA. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and if you are in need of any assistance, please contact your designated union representative. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 143. And we're kind of gonna go into some more union discussion tonight. This will be it'll be fun. Purpose of a union, why it's important, and all that good stuff. So, how was it your week, Josh, and your Christmas?
My week was it was a week's office. Not as bad as some people I've seen on the social webs, but it was a week. My Christmas was good. I upgraded my phone, finally got new headset or headphones, so that's a beautiful thing. Now I got to play the game for the next week and a half of what was my login for every app I open. How about you, Meow? How was your week? And Christmas.
My week and Christmas. My week, I guess the low of my week was probably Monday. Monday was probably one of the worst days of delivery that I've ever had in my almost 11 years of working at the post office now. I had 319 scans, and Tuesday was more of a reprieve, but we had like full coverages. So it was kind of like a balance between, what I'm not really used to with the post office during Christmas overtime period. But
yeah,
made it through. But yeah, so Tuesday had some full coverages, and then Wednesday, Christmas Eve, finally chilled out a little bit more, and I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, or the light at the end of the parcel palooza. So I'd say that this Christmas overall wasn't the worst one I've ever dealt with, but given that my route has growth and some days of my parcel volume, it wasn't the best. But I've seen like people across the country had like no parcels, or they're saying it was the easiest Christmas they've ever had. So I think it just depended upon the area that you were in. So my Christmas was good. My kid, like it's I think as I get older now, like it's good seeing like my kid's reaction to Christmas, and like the excitement in him to get his presents, and just the joy of like seeing my family, and even him like getting excited to see my family or our family, and all that jazz. And Santa brought him what he wanted, so that's what's good. But and then it was nice to have that reprieve, even though it was Christmas. It was just nice to not be at work, and like have the relief of knowing like, okay, we did it, and like that fear, of when you're delivering the parcels of, oh, are these all Christmas presents? Like, is this the only Christmas present this house is gonna get? Like, not knowing, and like that stress, that it just felt like a weight lifted on Friday. So Friday was real. I think it was it was like more of a normal day, or like a Monday, I'd probably say, mail volume wise. But then on Saturday, we came in, they changed our start time back to 8:30, and we had no DPS. So our DPS went to the main office, and they decided they were going to send it back to the plant instead of the city carrier who was on their way there to grab our DPS. And my office posts the end of run because I've gotten it ingrained in them. They'll post the end of run report and the radar report. And the volume, I only had like 600 pieces, but so now I get to play the game tomorrow of, is it going to get ran through the DPS with the rest of the DPS for tomorrow, or am I going to have 2 runs? So that's the $1 million question for tomorrow. So, but I don't know. Overall, I'd say like I feel like the week was good. The too long didn't read. The week was good after getting over that hurdle of Monday. So, how was your week, Kristen?
Oh, Monday was hell. We were short a regular carrier Monday, so we had no subs available for assistance on other routes. So I was not in a very good mood, let's put it that way. But Postmaster did come in, and she actually did give some assistance to my route, knowing that the other two could handle second trips and still be back about the time I'd had to be getting back. So I thank her for at least doing that. It helped. And then Tuesday, mail wise, was super light. I mean, it was down to tray of DPS, and I think I had a tray of pull down. And Tuesday kind of was like, packages were a little still heavier. And then come Wednesday, it was normal paper day and whatnot. It was packages wise, it was almost like a regular day. It was the first time I was actually just under evaluation for like the past month. So I can't complain about Wednesday at all. My Christmas was good. Unfortunately, my youngest did have to go back to her dad on Christmas Eve to make the travel out of state to meet up with his brother and all them for this weekend and whatnot. So it was just Ruby, Little Man, Eric, and I, and it was a nice little Christmas. With the weather, my parents couldn't make it up, and my son was having some medical issues. So, and then Friday, well, I called in Friday because there's a couple viruses going around, one respiratory and one intestinal, and I was the lucky one to pull the intestinal card. Let's just put it that way.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. So 4:30 in the morning, that abrupt wake up, going, yeah, the heck, getting hold supervisor. I'm not coming in today. And come to find out, due to the ice storm that we got late Thursday night and Friday morning, carriers didn't go out to the street anyways. So I was like, okay, I guess I didn't miss anything. I don't know what kind of mess I'm walking into tomorrow, and if we'll even be hitting the street tomorrow, given the weather, the crazy stuff that Michigan is in the midst of right now. Anyways, so yeah, that was my week in a nutshell. Not over excitingly, but nice at the same time, except for illness and being just feeling ugh the rest of the week. So weekends, that's where I'm at. Waiting to fully get over this and feel better and no more belly flopping around. But yeah, and then we got another short week this week with New Year's coming up. So we shall see what
Oh, I can't
happens.
wait to chill. I can't wait
Oh,
to
I
chill that day.
know, I know. I'm afraid to see what kind of mess I walk into tomorrow and what the weather's going to be like. That's my hang up. I mean, they're with across the Great Lakes, they're saying 20 to 30-foot waves, and well, half my route's along Lake Huron coastline and 25-foot waves. Yeah, we'll see how that works. And being that the other half of my route's secondary roads and there's no school, those won't get touched either. So I don't see much happening Monday. We'll see what happens. If we even get trucks up. I know Friday our truck was an hour and a half late. So I had a friend of mine call me and give me the scoop of what was going on.
I'm really curious to see like the hours that carriers worked this Christmas.
Yeah.
That it might like be if it was under or over or like which in which direction.
Yeah, I know
And I think the
was
consensus is under.
I know I personally was over the first 2 weeks of Christmas overtime by 5.5 hours each week. I pretty sure I didn't go over this week. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the overall was on that, because like I said, like you said before, it's some of these carriers saying, "Hey, this has been light. This has been, our offices weren't even. They had significant help, and so they weren't allowing them to get overtime or get near to overtime." And then I've seen the other way around, where carriers are working overtime, overtime, overtime. So we'll see. We'll see what the numbers actually say when they come out.
Yeah, like if it'll
Hello.
balance it out. I know we can hear you.
Okay. Well, when Kristen was pausing earlier, I was there. I forgot that my postmaster, depending on how you get it, gave us, in my opinion, one of the best Christmas presents. Told us as of January 10th, the one zip code and the 3 rural routes in my zip code, our start times are going from 8:30 to 7 o'clock. That's going to suck the first week having to get up and out the door that early, but that'll be a beautiful thing for getting done in the afternoon.
Oh, it's 7 o'clock, not 7:30.
Yeah, I've been.
Dang.
Wow. There's no way in hell that we could
Which means you'll
start
be.
that early. Our truck isn't even scheduled to get there till quarter after.
That might be an
I don't know what
advantage of
time the trucks start
SDC.
coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, and he's like I said, it's only doing one of the 3 zip codes, and then the 3 of us rurals, because most of the rurals are already in the other zip code. And then he's going to give it a month to see how well it goes with us, and they'll look at moving one of the other 2 zip codes over to 7 o'clock from 8:30 to 7 o'clock. After that,
Like,
he's like, yeah, if I
lucky.
can get it. He's like, if I can get the mail up 5 out of 6 days for 7 o'clock, I'll bring in the other zones, in earlier. And then he's going to leave all the new zip codes as they start coming, transition into the building. They're going to stay at 8:30, and he's going to have everyone staggered over a period of time with all the offices coming into the building.
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to see how. You'll have to let us know how it goes, like if they're able to. I know every area is different,
Yeah.
but if you actually have like 80% of your mail when you get there, then that's good.
Yeah.
I think also like your office having that parcel sorting machine really does help negate like having you guys
Yeah, it
come in
does.
later because they don't have to hand
Right.
sort
Well,
everything.
right. And like I said, I was told that what the clerks take 5 to 6 hours to do in labor hours, that machine does in an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah, it's crazy. Somebody was telling me that they were saying that we might get replaced by robots or AI or something, and I said, yeah, is the robot gonna sit there and decipher out all these really bad numbers for Christmas cards that are sent each year? Like
Right. The IAs.
yeah, the insufficient addresses, the no such numbers, the
ones
or
that
know that
haven't lived there
the
in
forwarding
years.
Yep. And know that they're on the
Well, I
roll
know
route right next to you now.
Oh yeah, I've
Was it
got
at
one of
least
those, and after I was nice at first, and I'm not nice anymore because now the house is actually sold and not renting it out anymore, and so I just send everything back.
Yeah. I usually will like put a sticker on there that says, "Hey, you're lucky we found you. Notify the sender of your correct address." And when you're getting repeated stuff, it's like, okay, yeah, now we're not. We're not.
No.
I gave you the warning, and now we're
Yeah.
we're not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of my
Well, I saw something somewhere between 5 and 10 years ago where a patent request was put in by the Postal Service for a robotic arm in the back of the vehicles. So it would actually
interesting.
grab the parcel for you and bring,
You have like the package look ahead, and then could you imagine maybe in 100 years from now, not right now, but 100 years from now, there's like the scanner is like connected into the truck, and it knows the GPS coordinates, and the robotic arm grabs the parcel and brings it to you, so that you can grab the parcel from the robotic arm to just get out and deliver.
Well, with the NGDBs, they supposedly one of the things they were talking about is having a docking station that you could use the look ahead, and with this upgrade with the look ahead right there that you can talk between scan and that, and still scan with the look ahead up, I could see it working. I could see that.
Yeah, but then they can't even afford right now to. There's fight over
I know.
us getting the new vehicles, let alone what do you mean you want to put a robotic arm inside of the LOVs and the NGDVs? But
Yeah.
hey, we can wish. We can It's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to be more efficient.
Don't
That's
know.
what we.
It'd be nice, but I want to know how much is that going to take credit wise away towards our
I could.
evaluations?
You wouldn't get your what was it? Your preliminary and concluding activities. That credit would probably decrease, but not
Yeah.
all the way because you still would have to shut off the engine, and then you'd have to shut off the. Wow, let's get real meta here. And then I'll get back on focus. But let's shut the vehicle off, but allow the robotic arm to still grab the parcel. And then you still have to lock it because you have to secure the vehicle. It could maybe if
And
it's
it would
automatic.
probably be off of a secondary battery source.
Oh, okay. I could see that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's probably gonna be running off of a secondary battery source, not the alternator or main engine.
My PowerPoint in my truck works with it being off, so I could see something like that.
Oh, okay. It'd have its own battery, so it'd have the battery for the vehicle, but then the arm would have its own battery source that can also charge the scanner and connect it. I don't know.
Oh,
It just sounds like
I'm
a
just
lot of
saying that
money.
it could, one of those things where it just runs, has its own power source that could be recharged, same as the alternator. The battery gets recharged by the alternator.
Yeah.
In your now,
Okay.
same type thing where it recharges. The running vehicle could potentially work for recharging it or keeping it charged.
Right, postal people that are listening to this, we're copywriting this right now. No, we're patenting it.
I was gonna say this is not something that's coming out. It's just it's talk. No, yes, you may have heard it here, but no, it is not happening.
Yeah, non-existent. They can't even fix the LOVs, let alone get a robotic arm that can do this. But anyways,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Let's not get started on the NGDVs right now either. So
yeah. So I thought tonight, since last week we talked about joining and why it's beneficial to join the union, I thought we could get even a step back from that and get kind of more meta and talk about what even is a union. There's a lot of people who put blame on the union, and I don't want to say online, it's mostly online, but I don't want to say everything that people are saying and finger pointing and blaming the union. It should be blaming the post office. I mean, there's things along those lines, but anyways, that I thought we could get a step backwards and actually look at the definition of a union and why it's beneficial for us as postal workers to be a part of a union. And our industry and us working at the Postal Service, we're probably one of the industries that are mostly all unionized compared to big box stores like Target or Walmart or retail. They aren't typically unionized, and there's been a long history to get us to this point where we have the ability to do this. And I know Kristen has talked about us doing maybe more of a history thing, and so this will kind of bookend that. So a union, let me find it. Let me pull it back up. I'm sorry. So a union, the basic idea of a union, and they exist across all kinds of different industries, and each different union have different contracts that can vary widely. Us as postal workers, we have more of an established union or unions, and we have more of an established negotiation that happens with the Postal Service because of how old our union is. So a union is an organization of workers who are seeking to improve their working conditions. And because workers create value for their employer, the union workers can create leverage over their employer. And one of the main ones like that would be strike, which us as postal workers cannot do. And there's the history of the strike of 1970, the Postal Reorganization Act, all those sorts of things about why we cannot strike now. But in the overall sense of a union, that's one of the leverages. Bosses have little to no trouble replacing a single worker, but it is a huge headache to replace an entire workforce. So a union is run by the members of that union. And I'm going to repeat that again because a lot of people just go your union or finger point. And a union is run by its members. And that is the workers. So almost every single person that are a part of the NRLCA are role carriers, with the exception of like some of the employees that work inside of the office building and like contracted in and such. And decisions are often made democratically at like membership meetings. So like in this instance, it would be the district, the county, the local meetings, the state meetings, and then, you know, regional and national conventions. And typically the people who are running it are elected by the workers or by the union members. In the process of formulating demands as a group and negotiating with the company is known as collective bargaining, and that's what our contract is. The outcome of the collective bargaining process is a union contract, aka a collective bargaining agreement. And then this is a written contract which governs all terms and conditions of employment. The agreement specifies things like pay, benefits, and working rules. It is a common misconception that union dues cover union benefits like healthcare or like our retirement or pension. And in our case, that's obviously not the case, but the union negotiates with the company and forces them to provide these benefits. Though the union may have a part in overseeing the administration of the benefits, union dues cover the cost of running the union. And that would include like the office building, printing expenses, legal expenses, hiring staff, and then union staff to assist in organizing, research, and process grievances, i.e. our union stewards. So, and I think the NRLCA, and I don't think they're alone in this, but I think a majority of the costs that the union has is processing these. So no union funds, less people to no union funds, less people, less power to help us with our grievances. In most instances, you join a union by getting a job at a unionized company, or like the Postal Service. The Postal Service has the clerks have their own union, the APWU, and then the city carriers and the NALC. There's the Mail Handlers Union, and then the National Association of Postal Supervisors, NAPS, and the National Postmasters Managers Union. I think, is that right, Josh? Did I lose you, Josh, too? Did I lose everybody?
The National Association of Postal Supervisors.
Okay.
And then you also have the
mail or the Postmasters one.
Yeah, have their own.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember that one. But the Postal Service, because of the fact that it was established as like a branch inside of the government, we had the ability to like unionize, and then we kind of got it ingrained with the Postal Reorganization Act of 1970. We are lucky in the sense that we have these established unions within the Postal Service, I think. I mean, I used to work at, what was it? My first job that I ever worked at was Little Caesars. And when I worked there, it was ran by it was a franchise, and it was ran by like a mom and pop shop, and then they had their adult children running it. And if there was issues inside of there, like there were such stupid petty things that would happen, like and I worked there for like 5 years, but I apparently one day I didn't wipe the flour off of one of the walls, and so they gave me a write-up for it and like tried to emphasize the severity of it, and there was no due process, there was no investigative interview, there was no questioning what had happened. They just went immediately to it. And in the Postal Service, they have to have the due process, and the unions emphasize that, and having the ability to not agree with the discipline and filing a grievance against it. And that was one of the number one reasons why I joined the union, because I was like, oh, okay, now there's people who can, if there's some stupid thing like that where, and they had cameras, like there was a lot of evidence and things that they could have presented and showed me, oh, okay, you misremembered, instead of just jumping to that. And having a union that's going to back you and protect you in those instances is so, like, I value that more than a lot. Like, it's such a good thing. And granted, I'm not leaving flour on the, I'm throwing flour, in my mattress on the walls, to do that.
Shame on you.
But yeah, throwing flour on the walls. But knowing that, like, if there's something that happens and there could be a constructive conversation about it, because without that, I would just have to go to the National Labor Relations Board as an individual and try and fight for it that way, versus like having a union and the process of that to go through. So any worker in any industry can have the ability to form a union if they wanted to. And that's why, back in the early 1900s, and we can kind of go into this later on, in the early 1900s, they had just started rural-free delivery, and rural carriers were realizing that they weren't getting, there was benefits that they were getting shorted on. And like one of the big things was EMA, or cost for them to buy hay for their horses to help them deliver the mail. And the EMA maintenance of maintaining horses and horse and buggy for them to deliver this mail. And so,
and that's why it is equipment maintenance allowance, not vehicle maintenance allowance. Equipment.
Yeah. Yes. So, that's like one of the very early examples of what we needed as rural carriers to function. And when you're talking to, people in my state and then your state, and realizing, oh, okay, we're all collectively having these same issues, and each state formed their own organization and then came collectively together in Chicago and formed the NRLCA as a whole, then, that's how we actually came to be. And even though I know that people will, there's a lot of debate between whether or not, is it the Postal Service's responsibility on certain things, or is it the unions? And I partly brought this topic up because there's a lot of blame that gets placed on the union, and like I've said before, people forget that you are the union. And when you have ideas that are brought up, and you're, today I saw one that was, why don't the RCAs get holiday pay? And people were commenting like, write a resolution, bring it to a union meeting, like get it passed so that we can get it negotiated, get it passed at the local, the state, and national level, so that the national board can negotiate that into our contract. And you can say things on Facebook, and I know sometimes it's cathartic for people to say things online and just get it off of their chest instead of getting like, you know what? No, like I want to be constructive in my vent. You can voice that concern there, but that isn't the official avenue inside of a union to get that idea across. So that's why you have meetings and you collectively have union members come together and go, this is the pinpoints of ideas that we want. And that's why you have those meetings. That's why we've talked about the national convention as like the big kahuna arena of a lot of this. And there's a lot of time and energy that's put into it. But once they come together with the Postal Service and have to negotiate, it takes a lot of time and information to negotiate certain things. And we always don't get everything we want. I know that there's been things that I've seen passed that have not gotten it put into our contract that I wish would have. But that doesn't mean that like I'm not going to continue trying and knowing the correct outlet to voice those concerns and talk with other union members and carriers who aren't union members and try and get more people's input on it so that we can all as rural carriers come together and push that bar forward, just like they did with EMA. I mean, that's like the most simplest example of it, but without those rural carriers who were lobbying for more money to feed their horses, we wouldn't be what we are right now, And so you just have to collectively keep pushing that bar forward with that.
Now, if we still had Bill around, we could ask him what that time was like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you, Bill.
I wish.
had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but there is so many.
For some buggy days.
Yeah. And but at the same time, I have seen resolutions that have gotten passed on the convention floor as we were going into negotiations and seen that come to fruition in the most recent one contract with the incentive for converting and right-hand drive doubling. So
yes.
that one came off the convention floor in what, 2024, 23, 24?
Yep.
And that starts at a local meeting and moves its way up. So, that's why a lot of people say, you are the union, we are the union. The union isn't the officials that sit at the head table. Those are elected by the delegation, which is elected by you if you choose to vote. Again, we're coming down to you, we are the ones. We are the rank and file that have the say starting from the ground and moving up. And that's, it's why we've gone over resolutions in the past last few years, when it gets, we'll probably cover it again as we're coming into annual meeting season again after the first of the year and getting closer into March and April and whatnot. Going over, resolutions again and why they're important and why language is very, very important in resolutions.
Yes.
One of the big things lately that I've
seen, how many times have you seen a resolution that the concept was great, but the way it was worded was not so great, and it failed.
Yep.
Had it been worded differently, it probably would have passed.
I've had some of mine pass at the gavel, and then, of course, it didn't go to fruition when it came to negotiations. But guess what? We're going to be heading into a new negotiation cycle, so it's time to get those resolutions that you still feel wholehearted about that didn't make the cut last time, let's get them back out. Let's make sure they're worded properly and start passing them back up the chain again.
Yep.
Yep.
And the more,
And so,
if you have more locals, more states passing the same resolutions, I mean, that has a lot of bearing when you're sitting on a convention floor and you can see that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a dozen states all submitted the same resolution or something
Yep.
similar.
Or
And that's
similar
where
enough.
wording comes in, an interpretation of them.
well, and the big thing that I've been seeing, and I've had somebody more local talking to me about, because he's getting more involved in the union, and the big word that he's been pushing with it is solidarity. And I think you seeing those resolutions like that with multiple states shows us standing together, like we all like are having the same problem, and we all can see that this is the solution. And there shouldn't be infighting, it should be constructive conversations to come to a consensus together and go, oh, okay, like this is what we need. And showing, the national board and the entirety of the union being solid together. And I'm not. Some people will be like, yeah, that's real easy to be all kumbaya, and but that's ultimately like that's the purpose. Like that is our entire purpose, is coming together collectively so that we can better ourselves, our families, our craft, like all of us. And I think sometimes that gets lost in translation a little bit.
I have to agree. I said, yeah, and in general, making our union more solid.
Yeah.
That's I think that's the biggest one. Yeah, we do have quite a bit of divide amongst people within the union. And I'm not going to say it's because of one side or it's because of another or it's one way of thinking or it's not one. There's a divide. There is. It's obvious. I mean, I'm one of those people who likes to see and hear both sides of the table. And I'm going to make my own decision. I'd like to understand where you're coming from on an issue if you may not agree with something or why you feel passionate about it, even though it may not be the best idea. I want to know. So maybe there's a happy middle ground where if it's something that, okay, you're passionate about this, we understand where you're coming from. It may not be the time now. So maybe the last cycle wasn't the time. Let's reintroduce this and bring it back in. Maybe now is the time.
Yep. Yeah.
So, that's, yes, would I like to see what we put forth to the post office and what the post office puts forth to us and what we say no to them on and what they tell us absolutely not on during negotiations. We would all love to be able to have that type of transparency. But unfortunately, that's not possible at this time. I mean, I do, and listening, like I said, listening to both sides, I do kind of understand where they're coming from on not releasing that information to us, but at the same time, they could give us an idea rather than saying, there's absolutely not, especially if it's ones, hey, we put forth this, 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 and this, and they immediately shot them down for this reason. Okay, that's all we would like to see. Okay, they shot it down for that reason. All right, that gives us an idea of, okay, they shot that down for this particular reason. What if we went back and reintroduced it under this reasoning with this language? Maybe they may open their eyes up to it. I think something like that type of transparency would help us.
Yeah.
In moving forward and maybe showing the doubters that, okay, they are working for us.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things too, I've been trying to I haven't had time lately because of Christmas and everything, but is seeing the differences in different union organizations and their contract negotiating stuff, to see the differences from them versus rural carrier union and I guess post office unions in general, because we as postal workers, because we've had it's been what has it been said to me before? We have a mature negotiating, sorry, I should. How do I put it? We've been negotiating with the Postal Service since 1970. Well, since the beginning, but since 1970 has been like the big push for how our collective bargaining is, and the stuff with the Fair Labor Standards Act. We're very ingrained in those sorts of back and forth, that there needs to be something to change, I guess, in there, versus like, like Starbucks right now is a big example of how they're more recently become unionized, and same with like Amazon and those sorts of things. And the Postal Service also needs to see it, that we're not like against the Postal Service either, like there's some of those resolutions that we have that would help the post office.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're not just there's working rules, there's financial stuff that, yes, us as rural carriers want, but there's resolutions out there that are just simple, like, hey, here's an idea for you, because we are out there on the ground level seeing this every single day, and this would help. And I think if they saw that more, because sometimes, I even say things to my managers, just like a simple thing, like a scanner fix. Us talking about a robotic arm in the vehicle, you know what I mean? Like, some of it could be crazy ideas, some of it could be really useful, like different little things on our scanners. I bet you somebody told the Postal Service, hey, you should put the look ahead and the scanner function right there, and they finally did it, And I know things take time, but I think once the Postal Service sees that, instead of us as just demanding, and that we also want to see the Postal Service succeed, that maybe there could be something in that regard, I guess.
Yeah, it's like
But
we're
I don't
not
know.
trying to work against each other. We're trying to work together for the future in general, not just our crafts, but for the future of the post office. For those of us that love our job, that love our union, that want to see a positive future.
Yeah.
The best information and the best research you can do is with the people that actually have their feet on the ground, that are in the offices, that are in the plants, that are doing the manual labor day in and day out.
Yeah, and I think that gets lost with some of, like, it's just you're a union and blah 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 blah, and there's just that negative, and it shouldn't be that way. We should be working together for the betterment of all of us, to keep us functioning. So
Absolutely.
I think if I had anything else with that. Yeah, the act or fact of joining or being joined, especially in a political context. And the other thing too is like the Postal Service or other union entities, like, or other companies, they have like CEOs, and usually there's like appointed positions and those sorts of things. But the union aspect of a union being inside of a place of employment helps bring upon that democratic process of the union members, your peers voting for you into these things. And I think, we have union officials who are elected into these positions, and I think sometimes that even gets forgotten. That people are like, you're union, but it's like they were all voted in to be here, guys. Like, it's not just what is it, our new PMG, but our PMG was voted in by the Board of Governors, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was.
It's an approval.
But like,
it's an appointment and then an approval. But yeah, it's literally, it's somebody who's going up there, putting themselves out there to get votes. I mean, Meow and I can both attest on how grueling that is, because we've both been there.
yeah,
and intimidating it can be at times as well. But but at the same time, and I get where a lot of carriers, because other crafts do have one member, one vote. And if that's something that you would want to see on the rural side, then that's something that has to start in the form of a resolution. and
And or constitution change.
constitution change, a constitutional resolution, as you would say, if, for those that are wondering, huh, what's the difference? Something like that. That would have to start with those of us writing that stuff for our annual meetings to pass up the chain. It's not going to change because you're whining online about it. It's not going to change because you're, shooting off because you're upset to your casemate. It's going to change by putting the ink to the paper and submitting it and getting it to pass through.
And I know personally, like lately, these last few weeks, I've been exhausted, but over the last couple days, even though with Christmas, I've been like turning my head more into that realm of like resolutions and what is it going to take for us to improve things. But then, yeah, I see comments online like, why aren't the RCA, like blaming things on different people, and there's the back and forth and the confusion. And I'm like, is this person even a union member? Is this person like I know that there's people that listen to this podcast that aren't union members. And I know, like, in the beginning, what was it? There's people who were mad about this podcast because there was the fear of non-union members getting information. But I also view the value of everybody should know this information, but also, like, I'm going to be like, you still should join the union, like, still
Right.
there. I lost my train of thought. My soapbox there for a second. But I don't know. I think some of it just gets lost in translation, and I just think that there's an importance of acknowledging, that we could not have any of that. We could not, there's things that the unions negotiated, like the RCA's having health insurance, or the RCA, or us having more PTF positions, or how many days of annual or holiday leave that we get.
Well, that's right up in there. RCAs wouldn't have annual leave. Now, the RCA insurance, a lot of that came down with the Obamacare stuff, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
RCAs now getting annual
But
leave. RCAs
Yeah.
now, most recently, that, I know it's 3 years in, but now they actually get a step increase after 3 years, where we never got that before.
I was just going to say that, bringing it up to most recent, what just happened, that dollar after 3 years.
Yeah, and how many years have we all been asking for that, and they finally got that. I mean, it's still not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction of getting us closer to that,
Exactly. And I know, talking at a function at a union convention with some, like, it's a step in the right direction, and it's baby steps.
Yep. And I think
Because now that we have it, we can build on that.
Yep. I think that there's people forget that I'm kind of like that too sometimes. Like, I want to find an answer to something like immediately, and I'm online a lot more than I should be, but but I know it is cathartic to just vent online, but it's I would rather see something instant, but that's not how it works. That's not how. I mean, even if you were in a private, even like, let's say if you worked at Walmart and you were like, Walmart needs to give me another day of annual leave, and you just wrote that on Facebook. I mean, there is no ability there for you to use a union to, or to be a part of to collectively bargain with Walmart in that sense, like and I think that gets forgotten somewhere out there. Nobody's going like, I think some of the Amazon workers have unionized, right? Am I right in that?
Yes,
some of them, not all of them, but they're not like Jeff Bezos, like writing online, Jeff Bezos needs to give me such and such, and going, the stupid union didn't give me this or something like that. And it's like, no, you need to go to Jeff Bezos and ask Jeff Bezos. Like, he owns Amazon, you know? And so us having that ability to collectively come together at union functions and meetings and construct good ideas in resolutions and and vote, it's just it's invaluable, you know? Like I'm grateful that we have that ability. I'm grateful, you know, I know the Fair Labor Standards Act, and there's all those sorts of things in the grand scheme of all of that. But I'm on a history kick a little bit too, which is what partially why I wanted to talk about this, because I know that there's been people who have come a century ago who, not even just rural carriers, like there's people across the entire country who would fight for workers' rights, and we can't forget them. Like we like they push the bar forward for us to get to where we are. And yes, we still deserve more. And I think we can get that. I think that there's more that we can get and that we deserve rightfully. And but that starts with each one of us.
Absolutely does.
So
I
think
kind of
that's
want
all
to
I had.
address one thing in the listener chat real quick, though, where I get where you're coming from. I really do. With the other crafts that graduate to full time after 2 years, I get that. Under the newest contract, our RCAs can now bid for a PTF position after 90 work days or 180 calendar days. So probation's already been limited down to 6 months. So RCAs now, depending on the office they're in, have the potential to be career within 6 months and possibly even regular before a year because of, just depends on, we all know things change daily in the offices. But the other portion of that I wanted to touch on, though, is you still have to go back into the contract where it says that each route is entitled to a leave replacement. Now, yes, we do have a lot of Formula Office now, which is opened up for PTFs. However, we still have quite a few non-Formula offices available to where we still have RCAs positions or offices that wouldn't qualify to be Formula due to the amount of RCAs. So you would literally have to rewrite that whole section when it comes to how the PTF is assigned routes, guaranteed routes, and I mean, we're talking what? Article 9, Article 30. We're talking several different articles that would have to be completely revamped in order to open that up for us to convert to career automatically after 2 years, like the other crafts have.
And the way that it looks to me also in this last negotiating cycle that they did is that it looked like they were trying to get there, like the other crafts have. But
and it's not
I think
just something that can change overnight. I mean, it's a step forward into that direction, like the step increase for the RCAs. What a lot of people don't realize is that even though it only maybe looks like a half a baby step forward, that's more going forward than there was before. When you didn't have that at all before, a push forward is a push forward that starts the momentum going forward for the future.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if this next negotiating cycle that they do that, because we've been wanting that for a while too. So we'll see what comes around this. I'll have to look at the the minutes from the last national convention, because I think that was in there. I think it's been in there every national convention that I've gone to.
Yeah, it's been in a few of them. I'd have to dig them out too.
Well, the PTF position, and yes, granted, like you said, it's multiple articles in the contract.
Uh-huh.
It would be changing it from a string of 2 to 5 to 1 to 5.
And I think with the 2 to 5 is because working 1 day a week is not feasible to cover the costs of your TSP and your pension and your FERS on top of paying the career amount for health insurance and whatnot. So, I mean, if you're only working 1 day a week, that's not going to guarantee that you're even going to be making any money.
You see, the only other option with that is eliminating the 1-to-1 ratio.
Yes.
Every route
Yeah.
is entitled to a relief carrier. A lever. So those are would be the only two options, or some conglomerate of those two options.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate that I'm going to say this. I think about this every single day, like that there should probably be some sort of position between an RCA and a PTF, maybe, and that they're considered career, but then there needs to be different provisions in terms of them having to pay for the career health insurance and to balance that out. But I think that there needs to be some sort of an overhaul of the RCA position as it stands. And I think the union, I think all of us really know that. I think the Postal Service knows that too, because there has to be some sort of a balance in there to, because they're not, in a majority of the areas, they're not just working 1 day a week. And knowing, like having the factual data to see how many of them are really only working that 1 day a week versus how many of them are working over 40 hours each week, and seeing that. And I don't know what the solution is, and we can't solve it. We're not going to solve this today, but but
No.
we need to I think it's important to have those conversations, though, because I also do not think it is fair that the RCAs aren't converted to career after 2 years. But I also don't want them to be financially shot in the foot, or offices to become forced to become formula, or different scenarios that could happen with the way that our current contract is written. But I also realize, like, the RCA position is not what it looks like on paper.
It's not what it used to
And
be. It's not what it was when I
yeah,
hired in 11 years ago.
yeah, I was about to say, I was like, it's not even what we got hired as.
No,
I
it's
mean, and
not.
even
It,
well, the other day, I was telling Josh the other day, like, they were helping an RCA, and he was like, when did they start helping RCA? Like, during the Christmas overtime period, RCAs helping other RCAs, which is fine, because some of them don't know their routes, some of them do. But he's like, when did it become like that?
Yeah.
And like the understanding of that.
I know. I
And
mean, and I see it in my office too, where you have newer RCAs who are splitting their routes with other RCAs on the assigned, relief day every week for months. It's like, when are you going to let them go free and do the whole route? They should have been able to do the
yeah,
whole route, a while ago. Set them free, and then if they need help, send help later. Don't just automatically be splitting that every week, because you're
yeah,
not helping anybody but yourself get out of the office quicker at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know, and and it sucks because I want some of those people to come to union meetings to hear their perspective, to tie it back in with everything. But there needs to be something needs to give. And then, I work with a clerk who used to be a rural carrier, and his wife was a rural carrier, but he quit and then came back as a clerk because he didn't want to be a rural carrier anymore. And him and I were talking about how, and I don't know if I've talked about this on here before, that there's this period of time also there were subs before Amazon, and then after it, like the offices have gotten Amazon, and they won't know, like, that middle chunk,
Yeah,
of what those subs went through. And
I was one of those.
granted, yeah. And granted, we're not going to know what the horse and buggy subs went through either,
No, not at all,
So there's differences. So there's
But
differences in that regard.
yeah, there is. There is differences in those that were around pre-Amazon days, ones that were there that started pre-Amazon, like myself, that were there during the beginnings of Amazon coming in, and the implementations of Amazon Sundays, and to what we have now is just, I mean, it's night and day. Night and day.
Yeah.
And I can still speak on that because I've only been a regular for 2 years. So,
Yeah.
nearly 9 years as an RCA, I've seen just about everything. Just about. I can't
Yeah.
I've never been through an implementation of the formula. My old office went formula after I had transferred out. So that's something I've never been personally have dealt with, but I did deal with the implementation of Amazon. I've
Yep.
also been the one that was on call to run expresses on Christmas and run expresses on Sundays to other towns and run all over northern Michigan to deliver expresses during the week and in the afternoons, or running DPS all over the state because it got misdelivered somewhere. I've done it.
Yeah.
Those were fun,
Well, and
easy
I
money
just
days.
see just jamming, listening to music, driving around.
Yeah,
But
pretty much.
I just think that, I mean, and I know like other people have said this on this podcast before too, is that we are in like a period of time right now with labor and the differences of what, that there needs to be a shift, and there needs to be something more positive for workers, because we're out there day in and day out. And I could see the RCA position by itself in general is an example of that.
Yes.
That we still need, there's still work to be done, and we can see it. The Postal Service can see it because DeJoy would talk about it in some of his congressional hearings, and it was shocking to me hearing him. I was like, wow,
Acknowledge it.
you know
Yeah.
what? Yeah. But something has to give, and those ideas, and for the betterment of that, starts with people becoming a part of the union, going to meetings. And I know it's exhausting, or even if like you absolutely can't come to a meeting, voicing your concern and telling somebody you know is going to a meeting to present this, or an idea you have, or just, or you bringing your sub with you, because or even getting your sub to join the union because they didn't join the union when they were at the academy. There's many different ways to contribute to that, and calling Congress. And I know that we're tired. I mean, I feel that, but also like we're at that time where like things are going on in labor, and it's concerning. And there's things like the Fair Labor Standards Act exists because of what was it, child labor and all those sorts of things. And the 40-hour work week needed to happen because otherwise we would be working nonstop, and 8-hour work days and all those sorts of things. And we have to figure something out. And like I said, we can't solve it all. We cannot solve this all today, but or if you have an idea, or you feel passionately about something with it, then write a note to yourself, like in your phone, like, hey, I need to remember to write this down before I forget it. And it goes away, so that and even if you maybe you think it's a stupid idea, you still need to present it, because voice part of it. But I think that's it. I think that's pretty much
Oh yeah, because
the gist.
we could go on forever on this subject.
I could, yes. But the gist is join the union. And I know it's cathartic to vent online, but that is not the way for it to actually change.
No, it's not. And even if you have an idea and you're not sure how to word it, or not sure how to present it, but you have a friend in the office, or you have friends online. I mean, this is where social media can be good too. Oh, reaching out and saying, "Hey, would you help me? I have this idea for a resolution. Would you help me with the wording of it?" There's nothing wrong with asking for help with that and reaching out to somebody.
Yeah, because somebody will help you word it. Or even you.
I know.
I do that all the time too. I troubleshoot some of these ideas off people. You know.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got a text not too long ago from, a mutual friend of all of ours that said, "Hey, help me with this resolution." Just that's what we do. I mean, that's the one benefit I see of, not only being part of the change at conventions and being a delegate and voting and being able to have a word up at the microphone or, being able to do that, but it's also the camaraderie and meeting your fellow brothers and sisters from all over that gives you another somebody to bounce off ideas with. Not
Yep.
necessarily at convention, but you exchange numbers or your friends on, social webs and Messenger, and you can bounce off ideas, doing it that way too, or even emails or whatever. I mean, and then it's great when you can all get together in the same room and sit down and go over all the resolutions and say, I don't like this because of this, or I don't like that because of that, or I like this one. Maybe they're trying to do this, but so, and having an idea of trying to get an idea of where people are coming from, especially when you do know more people from other states, and it is a platform like national convention. I mean, how many different states were represented at our table on a nightly basis, like after hours,
Yeah.
going through conventions, going through resolutions at convention. It all gave us an idea to say, oh yeah, then you see it's something from your state, so you can elaborate a little bit more on where that was coming from. And that's the whole
Yep.
point, especially
Yep.
even on a national convention floor, is, the maker and whoever objects to it, they're going to object to it for a reason, whether it's just not going to work at all, and what the hell were they thinking, or how did this get passed up here, or to a, all right, this language needs to be tweaked, or it's just not, it's something. And then you do have people that
Or
speak for
clarity.
it as well. So you do get a little bit of that debate on the floor going back and forth, which I think is great because then that also helps other people try and understand both sides of the fence.
Yep.
And I've seen where they've objected just to get clarity
Yes.
and then withdrawn their objection.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely, it is a process. And, you get that on the state level too, your state conventions with your resolutions and whatnot that are passed up from the locals. That gives your, a chance to speak at the microphone at your state convention to convince your if it's something that could go up to national, that, a way to say, okay, I brought this up because of this. I mean, I've objected to stuff at state because I had to remind the ones that it was submitted by that the one thing that it falls under, the entire country doesn't follow. I think it was daylight savings time and start times and stuff like that. And it was like, well, you got to remember, not every state in the country observes daylight savings time in the fallback, spring forward stuff. And, if it's something that you feel is unsafe with start times, that's something that can be resolved at the local level. So,
Yep.
stuff like that. It gives you a chance to even then explain to somebody why this would not work on a national level. Okay. We can wind down now that Josh isn't humming. unless you have anything else to add on, Josh.
Not that I can think of from what I was able to hear, because for some reason I could see you lighting up on Discord, but my sound box was dead.
Gotcha.
And then when I come out and go back in, the audio was coming from the speakers in the laptop, not through the sound box.
Oh, you got some setting issues there.
Which
Yeah.
meant you would not have been able to. Yeah, something. Hey, I made it through 2 whole episodes last week, so I guess we can't complain too much.
It's almost like a new record for you. Yeah. I also mentioned the listener channel. If you're in our Discord, we do have a Discord channel for resolution ideas. I mean, that's where you can, you don't necessarily have to post a whole resolution. You can just post, hey, I have an idea for this. And there's a lot of times where some others will hop in and, feed off of it and help build it up into a resolution. Or say, hey, what's the reasoning behind this, and where can how would this affect everybody in the entirety? That's the one thing you do have to remember if you're writing a resolution that you want to do to change the craft. You have to think about the country as a whole and the craft as a whole, and something that would benefit the craft in its entirety, not just your local area or your state area or your regional area, but something to cover the entire country.
Right. Because something that would work in your office, Kristen, probably won't work, or vice
Exactly.
versa.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Josh, your final thoughts for tonight.
Like I said earlier, the weathering. Like Kristen said, it's bad that they didn't deliver on Friday in her office. Postmaster made the judgment call not to send anyone out. Yesterday it was like 75 degrees here. Today the high was 48. When I leave for work in the morning, it's going to be 60. When I leave for work Tuesday, it's going to be only 29. So be safe, dress in layers and appropriately, hydrate. Don't get overwhelmed. If you do, take a step back, take a deep breath, step back in. Meow.
Well, thank you guys. I know I kind of ranted a little bit, but I hope it helped. I know that it's there's people that get frustrated and there's a lot, and I know that I have my moments of it too. So I say these things, but I also I try and look at things from the big picture of it, and I also try and look at things from the real meta perspective of things too sometimes. And sometimes I overlook at things. So there's that too. But I hope
No.
everybody had a good Christmas season and that everybody's going to have a really good new year. Please be safe. Don't drink and drive. Be the DD or stay home, and like I've said before too, I know the holiday season sometimes gets people down. Again, if you need help, call EAP. The number is 1-800 EAP the number 4U, or 1-800-327-4968, and they can help you guys. Like Josh had already said too, stay hydrated. The weather's actually been warmer here for me than it should be, and so I've had to remember to drink even more water than before. But have a safe week, guys. And we'll talk to you guys next week. We'll talk to you guys next year.
Hey, I was gonna do that.
All right,
Thanks.
Kristen.
No, thank you guys. Yeah, I mean the weather is crazy, especially in the upper Midwest right now. Yeah, be safe, everybody out there. Like I said, I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow when I report to the office, and it, yeah, be safe. Remember, if you are sent out on the route, once you leave that office, that safety call is yours. And if you don't feel safe delivering, turn around and go back. I know that was the little discussion the postmaster had with the carriers in my office Friday, is if they did depart to route, that they would have to scan all the packages on the route. Whereas if they all decided, if they didn't leave, then they could scan them weather delay in the office. Trust me, I whatever, just it is what that is, I guess. I wasn't there. I was home not feeling well. So, yeah, tomorrow will be interesting. I'm going to, for all of us in the upper Midwest, especially in the Great Lakes areas, please stay safe tomorrow. Regardless on what the call is for your office, whether you are going out to the route or your management is actually following safety and is keeping you in, just be safe reporting to the office if you can. Luckily, I only have a 0.3 of a mile trip to my office, so I more than likely will make it there without an issue. But yeah, I can't. It's pretty crazy where we're at right now. I know there was risks of tornadoes in the northern Indiana, northern Ohio, Michigan line. Just it's crazy out there right now. I've seen pictures of the storm that was coming across through Minnesota, Wisconsin before it was hitting the Great Lakes, and I live literally 4 blocks from Lake Huron, and half my route is on Lake Huron. So I will see what happens with those waves tomorrow. I'll be interested to see what they look like coming in. So, but yeah, everybody, please stay safe. Christmas is over with now. I know we still have that residual stuff that didn't make it into the system on time to get delivered for Christmas. We're still delivering that. It happens every year. It's nothing new, and we deal with it. That's what we do. We easily change and adapt. Adapt's the word I want to try. We adapt. We're rural carriers. We adapt. And but on that note, yeah, guys, this is why this whole episode, why it's important for the union, what the union is, who the union is. That union is us. That is everybody with their feet on the ground. We all have a say. Whether you realize it or not, or whether you think you do or not, you do. And the only way to make change or to try and make change is to use that voice and putting that ink on paper, writing resolutions, submitting resolutions, getting them passed up. And so, we've all said, we have seen resolutions passed and make it into contract. We have seen absolutely wonderful resolutions passed and not make it into contracts. Now we'll be coming up on a new negotiation round. I know I have resolutions from the past that I want to reintroduce. And am I going to? Absolutely. I'm going to go. I still have them saved on my computer. So I'm going to go through and see if there's any retweaking I can do to it to make it even look even better and try and get them sent up again. I mean, that's, again, we adapt. And that's all about adaptation and moving forward. And it's not going to happen if we don't all try and do that collectively. So, guys, yes, we'll be back next week. And everybody have a happy, safe New Year this week. I know AAA, a lot of local transit companies offer free rides. Use those if you need to. Don't go out if you don't have to. I plan on staying home and chilling out. And probably if I make it till midnight, I'll be surprised. And we'll see. Guess I'm getting old. But yeah, take care, guys. Be safe. And we'll be back next year.
Bye.